Before I became Catholic, this was my experience of Mary. Mary, the mother of the baby Jesus, who gave birth to him in a stable on a starry night in Bethlehem, surrounded by shepherds, surrounded by animals, with Joseph, her husband. That was it. That was all I really knew. Yes, she was important. We wouldn't have had Jesus here with us were it not for Mary. But there was no theology behind that. It was just the story. Fast forward many years and my entry into the Catholic Church back in 1980, and I began reaching out and finding more about this woman, this person of Mary. Who was she? What was she like? What was life like for her as she grew up? What was life like for her once she found out that she would bring to us, bring to the world, God's Son? And now, today, what does Mary do for us? Of course, we understand that she intercedes for us at the throne of heaven, that she carries our prayers, and she is there for us as an advocate on behalf of our needs, laying them at the feet of her Son, laying them at the throne of God. But how do we understand that? Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to, during this month of October, take a look at a couple different aspects of Mary's life and of Mary's role in our lives as intercessor, as mediatrix, as Holy Mother of God, but also as the human person we all are, and we all know that she was as well. She is our connection, our physical connection to Jesus. She is our link. We may not all be mothers, but we all have a mother. And even though our relationships with our own mothers may not have been as fruitful, we have a relationship with this mother, with the Blessed Mother. And that's what we're going to explore in these next few weeks. How did she relate to that infant? But not only as that baby, how did she relate to the turmoil and the trial and the suffering and the pain that he endured as he grew, and of course, that he endured on the cross? How did she manage, once he was gone from this earth, to continue in her life of faith and be so generous with her own love and her own life so that we would experience that even here today, 2,000 years later? How is it that she acts in our lives? How is it that she comes into our hearts just the way her Son does? What is her role for us? Her role for us is to take us to her Son. It's to lead us to his heart so that through him, we too can understand that deep love and that deep connection and have him dwelling within us just as she did when she bore him in her womb. There's a fun story that I'd like to share with you that just kind of give you some pause to think about her role and how she acts in our lives today. Why we go to her. Why do we need her in that place of intercession for us? Several years ago, I was leading a lot of the adult education classes, the faith formation classes here. We called them Faith Matters. And there was one dear, dear friend who consistently came. His name is Bill. And Bill would come and he would have these wonderful life stories about interactions and how he evangelized others near him. And one of these stories had to do with Mary. He had a young man who was very anti-Catholic, who worked with him as an intern in his construction business. And one day they got into a rather heated argument about the role of Mary and why do you Catholics worship Mary? And we'll talk about that this month too. But why do you Catholics worship Mary? What is it about her? This is wrong. And he kept at it and kept questioning and arguing so that Bill couldn't get a word in edgewise to explain himself. And then this young man's mother pulled up to take him home. When she arrived, Bill just very quietly said to her, "Could you please ask your son to stop talking so that I can answer his question?" The mother did that. The son obeyed. And Bill's point was made right there in a life lesson. Do you see what happened? I went to your mother, and your mother interceded for us And now we can have this conversation. That's what Mary does for us. That's how she interacts for us. And that's how she will lead us into a closer relationship with her Son. Later in the coming weeks, we'll explore some of the mysteries of the Rosary, which will give beautiful light into the life of Mary and the role her Son played in that life, and the role she played in his life. Starting with the Nativity, starting with the young mother who bore the Son of God and listened and said yes, so that we can all learn to love him and adore him just the way she did. Pray for me. I pray for you. And blessings from St. Elizabeth Ann Seton.